Today is the Ekadashi of the second half of the last month of the Hindu calendar, Falgun Krishna Ekadashi. It's also an Ekadashi on which you can get rid of all your demerits out, Papa Mochani Ekadashi, also known as Smarta Ekadashi. Today is an auspicious day, 31st of March. So was yesterday. Other important auspicious days are 2nd, 6th, 7th of April. And on 6th of April is the start of the Hindu New Year called Gudi Padwa, Chaitra Shuddha Pratipada. By the way, the last few days of the Vilambi Samvatsar, thank God the sun is moving northwards, called Uttarayana, even though we're still in the winter months called Shishirut. The title is Ishavasya Idam Sarvam. But many of you are fairly new on the subject matter. So I'll open up in such a way that makes it easier for everybody to understand and remind other people who know it well just to recollect their memories again. For Hindus, there are 4 Vedas. Their name is Rigveda, Samaveda. Yajurveda is divided into Shukla and Krishna Yajurveda, and Atharva Veda. These are the words which were spoken by the enlightened individuals, but they were seen by the clairvoyant or clairaudient enlightened individuals while in the deep state of meditation, and they subsequently wrote it down. But it's not their words. It's like a theoretical physics. We subsequently take hundreds of years before somebody tries to solve it, if at all it is solved. In northern part of India, Shukla Yajurveda is popular. The southern part, it is Krishna Yajurveda is popular. And Veda is Sanskrit verb is called Vida, to know. That means words of wisdom. And what we are discussing today is Vedanta. Anta means end. That means the last portions of Vedas, which contain even more immense words of the wisdom. And these are known as Upanishads. The subject matter of every Upanishad is exactly the same and deals with the nature of God, creation, and their relationships. And creation includes each and every one of us here and other entities in the creation that we tend to objectify. Though there are more than 200 known Upanishads, 10 that have been commented upon by sage Shankaracharya are considered important. A Sanskrit word for that is Mukhya Upanishad, because of its scholarly commentaries. And most people read only those commentaries because they are not lucky enough to know Sanskrit well. These 10, just out of curiosity, Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Mandaka, Mandukya, Taittiriya, Aitiriya, Chandogya, and Brihad Aranyaka. In Samaveda, the main Upanishad, or Mukhya Upanishad, is Chandogya and Kena. In Rigveda, the main Upanishads are Aitareya, Kaushitaki. Krishna Yajurveda, the main one are Taittiriya, Katha, Shvetashvatara, Maitrayani. Shukla Yajurveda, Ishavasya, Brihad. And finally, Atharva Veda, that is Mundaka, Mandukya, and Prashna. You don't have to worry about it. I'll send you all the notes so you can refer to them and keep them with you. All these connected with Vedas are called Mukhya Upanishad, 14 only. Shankaracharya did not write the other 4 commentaries. In addition, friends, there are 21 Samanya Vedanta Upanishads, 20 Sannyasa Upanishads, 14 Vaishnava Upanishads, 12 Shaiva Upanishads, 8 Shakta Upanishads, 20 Yoga Upanishads, and totally these are 108 important Upanishads that we should remember. Now comes to the topic of discussion in the beginning, Ishavasya Upanishad. Is the last chapter of the Shukla Yajurveda Samhita. And since it is an integral part of the Veda or Samhita portion of the Vedas, is also known as Samhita Upanishad, Sanskrit word Samhita Upanishad. When the Upanishad is in a metrical form called mantras, they are also referred to as Mantropanishad. And this Ishavasya Upanishad is one of the most important, most prominent, lyrical, and perhaps unparalleled Mantropanishad that is known to us. Now, Ishavasya Upanishad has two different recensions. Kanva, which has 18 mantras, whereas Madhyandina has only 15 Upanishads, 15 mantras, and ends with a mantra called Hiranyamayena Patreda Satyasyapitam Mukham Tvam Pushanna Pramanu Satyadharmaya Drishte. To translate in English, O Nourisher God, O Sustainer God, unveil this in front of us so that I, the Satyadharma, may enjoy this vision. That means the one who sees this in his deep meditation says that let me enjoy what you have taught me. His name was Uratta Bhatta. He's a famous author. He considered that to be the last mantra of Ishavasya Upanishad. Now, in Brahma Sutras, sage Vyas recognized both these recensions as equally important, and very rarely does an author ever write his own name in the part of the mantras. This is an exception. Most often, Upanishad is named after the very first word. That's how Ishavasya Upanishad comes. Now, Ishavasya Upanishad includes 7 powerful messages or waves of thought for the interested students to learn from. The first powerful wave of thought is summarized in the very first mantra, which explains the entire truth regarding the relationship between God, the creation, of course including all of us as I mentioned. It also advises us the method of reconnecting to the path of renunciation. It clarifies how the realized truth can be maintained and consistently enjoyed through the values of life founded upon a complete detachment from all the material glory consisting of wealth, transient pleasures, successes, fame, and popularity. The second strong message is summarized in the second mantra. Those who will follow the path of action, the Nivritti Marga, that is renunciation, and Pravritti Marga is path of action with rituals, social service, community service, which needs to be sincerely followed for those who are unable to follow the path of renunciation. So both methods are equally important. The third mantra is as yet another powerful message to warn about the outcome of those who do not follow either of these first two options suggested to us, because we have been blessed with a unique existence as a human being. Why? Because we have a God-given gift called free will to make choices in life. Animals work on instincts, human beings can make choices. And if they don't make a clear choice to get enlightened in this life, they continue to suffer through the never-ending cycles of birth and death, living in pain, sufferings, life of gloom and darkness that occasionally every one of us feels. The mantras from 4th to 8th return to describe the nature of the Brahman, the topic of discussion today. But in the one who is seer of this Upanishad is Yajnavalkya. He uses his poetic words describing all qualities of the soul or inherent true nature and identity, since in reality our identity cannot be comprehensively described by the finite words in the language, but has to be personally experienced. In verses 9 to 14, the fifth thought, the seer indicates that students that knowledge and action, meditation and worship, nivritti and pravritti, are to be taken together, not one or the other, taken hand in hand to yield their maximum dividend. And the other has to be practiced to the exclusion of the other, but they are to be faithfully followed one after another as harmonious integrated program. So even though he gave 1 and 2, he also said, it's good to do both of them. The sixth thought is between 15 to 17 verse, which constitutes the sixth way of thought, which is called, for the mortal man, the glory of the immortal self in himself, and to reveal itself in the joy of self-experience. Teaches that. And finally, as always happens, in the 18th final thought, after explaining the highest goal for we as human beings, the teacher and the students, guru and disciples, pray together to Supreme for guidance and help on the path of self-development. So these are the overview and the summary of the Ishavasya Idam. So that brings us back to the only one mantra which I promised of this. And that goes, Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam
Ishavasya Idam Sarvam
Yat Kinchat Jagatyam Jagat Yat Kinchat Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita
Tena Tattena Bhunjita
Magruda Kasya Sviddanam Magruda Kasya Sviddanam. I know I love to explain the Sanskrit words, makes it exciting. All this, whatsoever moves in this world, moves in this universe, all this, whatsoever moves in the universe, yat kinjat jagatyam jagat, that is all put together. Itself, of course, universe is moving, is enveloped and pervaded or clothed by the Lord, Isha. And then, thus renounced, thou shalt enjoy, covet not anybody else's wealth. Thus renounced means tena tyaktena. Thou shalt enjoy, bhunjita, enjoy. Ma gruda, do not covet. Kasyas with anybody's dhanam, wealth. Now, Ishavasya Idam opens with the very first statement. The entire creation is enveloped by God, Isha, whatever name you want to call. Absolutely nothing remains uncovered. Now, the cover does not touch the creation, but covers in its entirety. Come on, Dr. Sane, explain to me. It covers everything entirely, but doesn't touch. It is to be understood as I have a sword in the scabbard, so that it is inside, completely covered, but it's not touching. Now, Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam, the root is of course Vasa. Sanskrit, they have had so many meanings of the same little root. It means clothing, covering, inhabiting, enveloping, pervading, etc., etc. Okay. Here in this context, every one of this meaning is applicable. Sage Yajnavalkya is stating all this that we are perceiving through our sense organs, or by inference through our mind and intellect, is covered by Lord or Ishwar. It is the Lord, is the God or Isha, who remains as a silent observer in the sentient entities in the form of Chaitanya, the life force. Now, Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam, if translated that the entire creation is full of Brahman, one can misunderstand that the world is the container and Brahman or Ishwar or consciousness is the substance that it contains. In the same sense, I can say that my garden is full of flowers, not yet, guys. Or some certain politicians' statements are always full of lies. No political comment. On the other hand, if we try to understand that the Brahman permeates all the things, one may conceive that it could be similar like water permeating the porous space within a sponge. That would be wrong as well. Some individuals imagine that Brahman is the fundamental building block of the entire creation. All these varieties of misunderstandings often emerge since our human mind can handle entities or called objects with the finite and well-set dimensions. The entire matter, consisting of 5 basic elements, earth, water, fire, air and space, in Sanskrit, Prithvi, Aap, Teja, Vayu, Akash, has been created by God. So too is our body, having all these 5 basic elements, and that's the inner aspect in each one of us. That's the one which dies when we have a mortal death, as we don't understand it. In this inner aspect within us, we gain, as it were, a semblance of life which grants us the capacity to objectify all the objects around us. And yet, in our preoccupation with these sense objects or objects of experience, we become egotistically blind to the existence of and perfections in that subject who is a silent observer, the Lord Isha, who lent us the life force or the Chaitanya in the first place. We erroneously start thinking that what we do or what we enjoy is accomplished all by ourselves, mistakenly presuming I as the subject instead of the real subject, Lord and Ishvara, who is kind enough as a silent observer to give that sentience to each and every one of us. To understand this powerful concept contained in this very first statement is to understand that the dancers, so Sanskrit played 3,000 years ago, Panchadashi, the dancers on the stage only become visible and the movements of those dancers on the stage seem to come to life when the light is thrown on the stage. Till that time, even while on the stage, they were not visible to any one of us. Exactly the same thing is true for the movies which are projected on the screen. The movie reel has all the images, and reel could be even moving. But only when the light is directed towards the movie screen and those images on that film become visible. That light consciousness has to be present. In our case, as the consciousness remaining as the silent observer lends us that life force, Chaitanya. Wait a minute, Dr. Sara, we are in the 21st century. He gave me all old examples. Okay. The other example for the modern time would be the computer screen with various documents, images and pictures that can be observed on it. That screen never disappears from its place, nor does it change when an image or a picture comes up on it or disappears. It's a screen only which appears at given pixel positions in a particular form or color. The picture or alphanumeric at that position may tentatively veil that screen, and still when you're looking at the picture, guys, we are actually seeing the screen only. That's why when we interact with anyone, we always greet everyone, recognizing nothing but divinity in them, saying Namaste. Now that's the first statement we finished so far. And then the second one line starts with the phrase Tena Tyaktena Punjita. Having renounced all the duality and with the knowledge of non-duality, we should enjoy whatever comes our way after renounced by the God, by prasada buddhi. What it means, tena tyaktena bhunjita, what it really means is that after we make offerings to the Lord during the puja, what remains behind is renounced by the Lord and is for us to enjoy as prasad. That's exactly what is meant in this particular 3 words. Just as Sri Krishna in the 3rd chapter, the 12th verse said, Ishtan bhogan hi vo deva dasyante yajna bhavita tai dattan padayabho yo bhukte stena evasa. What it means, the gods satisfied with your sacrifice, yajna, rituals, offering, serving the people, others, these are all yajnas. Yajna, dana, tapas. Will fulfill your desires. But the one who does not offer sacrifice to the gods in the form of offering in the temple to the deity, or all other people who need the help in the community, those are also gods, and enjoy the natural gifts given by the gods, is considered literally is adjective, pakka chor. Hence, all this offered to us by God Almighty has to be enjoyed by us with reverential prasad buddhi, as an act of gratitude towards God. If you remember correctly, in the old days, while living in India as a youngster, some of you did, some of you have not yet, when every meal was prepared at home, the dish will be served with all the preparations for the day, placed in front of a worship altar, offerings made, and then only everybody in the family ate. The food was also kept a little bit outside for the animals and birds to eat. That's how exactly it is. For example, if you go upstairs in the temple, you'll see a big column in the front. And that's where the prasad is always kept for the people not coming inside to eat, but the natural elements, flora and fauna, can come and enjoy. So that's the way it is done. It's called prasada buddhi. Offering first and then only enjoying. Nothing wrong with enjoyment. But don't you forget other people first before you do anything else. And then the second line ends with Ma gruda kasyasvit dhanam. Do not covet the wealth of others. Now, Shankaracharya in his commentary goes even further when he says kasyasvit dhanam. All wealth, really speaking, belongs to God only. No wealth ever belongs to anybody, and nothing in the universe which can remain with us. I was checking with God the other day. What can I take with me when I go on the flight? She said, no, nothing chicken, no carry-on. So nothing you can take. So everything belongs to God. We are just simply the trustee to enjoy. So enjoy. The infinite alone is the reality. Hence we have to enjoy in our lives what is offered to us by the Lord with great gratitude, the prasad buddhi, appreciation of the Lord. When we thus enjoy, there should not be a sense of entitlement, ownership or attachment. Certainly, enjoy for sure, but do not ever covet anybody else's wealth, get greedy, and most importantly, hoard any wealth and close the borders. We must share everything that God has blessed us with, the community, especially those who are in need. Now, when I mentioned that everything in creation is coming from the God, you have to remember that God, Brahman, Isha, Lord, is not only nimitta karan, but also upadana karan. That means material cause as well as the intelligent cause. So everything that is created is divine. That's why we said talk about domestic earlier. But that means all of us are brothers and sisters. So you have to develop that sarva bhutatma attitude. Also to remember, we have to have flora and fauna also as creation. So it is our responsibility to make sure that the world remains just as pristine, if not better, than the day God bestowed upon us. So that's equally important. Then finally, in that context, Sri Krishna says, in the there are 2-3 different references. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyeva anupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tatona vijigupsate. He constantly sees anupashyati everywhere, all existence, in the self, Atman, and the self, Atmanam, in all beings and all forms, sarvabhuteshu. Thereafter it shrinks not, no vijigup. It doesn't shrink away from anything, helps everybody. Now, again, Sri Krishna continues in the 9th chapter. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvancha mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami dachame na pranashyati samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshosya priya ye bhajantu me tumam matya mai te teshu chapyam. So these are all the different words to remember everything in creation is nothing but divinity. Now once you start understanding and enjoying in that, then he says, Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhuta dvijanata tatra ko moha ka shoka ekatvam anupashyata. So once the knower, vijanata, all beings become one in his own atman, sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut. How can he feel deluded thereafter? Tatra ko moha. There is no delusion. What grief can there be? Ka shoka. Who sees everywhere oneness. So he is atmanya atmanatushta. He is very much at peace with himself because he is at that particular level of his understanding. Now, when we talked about understanding something, we talked about understanding through the senses, sense organs. We talked about mind and intellect, that means inference. But nonetheless, as I described to you, Vedas came through the wisdom seen or heard by the clairvoyant rishis. And that is, since not written by a human being, written in the sense created by a human being, that knowledge of pramana is called apaurushaya. That means it's a revealed knowledge and not created by a living human being. Now these are mantra drashtas, that means those who see, or mantra kartas, that means just write down what they see. These are the rishis. Now, as I mentioned to you that these Vedas are the pramanas, but in order to understand the pramana, we need a particular methodology to impart that knowledge. By an enlightened teacher who has learned the same through the traditional teachings. The means of knowledge by which self-knowledge, the knowledge as to our true identity is gained, requires a traditional teacher. Since the subject matter you're learning is the very subject, the subject matter that you're learning is the very subject, any individual who tries to gain the knowledge only through his own studies almost never succeeds. Almost, because I'm a radiologist, I say I've never seen yet, but never succeeds. Even a person with excellent knowledge of Sanskrit is inadequate to understand Shruti Vakya. Why? Again, in Taittiriya Upanishad 291 says, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. The words turn back along with the mind because you are not experiencing. You hit the mind, but since you are only objectify, cannot subjectify, they hit your mind, just come back, failing to reach the Brahman. Everyone gains knowledge only step by step. Everyone gains knowledge only step by step. But every step can be only taken by the one who has a vision of the whole. Re-emphasize. Everyone gains knowledge step by step. Every step can be taken only by the one who has the vision of the whole. So that's the reason. But at the same time, the whole vision does not come without taking one step at a time. And that's the need for a person who has gone through the traditional teaching, through an enlightened teacher, with the same tradition, starting with Lord Ishvara himself, Sadashiva. That's why he has to be Sampradayavit. That's why the famous words I'll quote and stop and then go for question and answer session. Sadashiva Samarambhat, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmat Acharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Parampara. Starting with Lord Sadashiva himself, rejuvenated, recharged in the middle by Shankaracharya, till the time my teacher in front of me teaches me, and that's why we start with the prayers to the Guru, Om Guru Bhyo Namah. So you have to be fortunate to have a teacher who appears in front of you, and then you get the knowledge. And I was discussing this topic, I think Arun and Vatsal, you might remember, we were asking that question of Swami Vivekananda. How do you find a good teacher? So remember he told, teacher appears in front of you. Turlabham Trayamevetat. There are three things difficult to get. Manushyatvam, Mumukshvatvam, Mahapurusha Samshraya. To get a human life with the God-given gift of free will, it has gone through so many life forms before we have got that special gift. Only few of them, in the 6th chapter of Krishna laments, only few of them, Kachit, they have the desire to get the liberation. And we'll talk about moksha some other time or answer question session there. But to get an opportunity, to get a person who has gone through the traditional teaching and learn, it's rare and it happens only by pure chance. I'll stop right here. Thank you. Yes?
So I just want to make sure I understand this. So there is the Vedas and the Upanishads are basically commentary on the Vedas?
No.
No.
That's the fourth portion of Vedas.
Oh, so they're part of the Vedas.
Fourth of Vedas. That means it starts with the rituals part, mantras, samvita, brahmanas, aranyakas, and Upanishads. There are four subsections of Vedas.
Okay.
So first is the rituals part of it, but then they have certain mantras in that rituals, and then some of the things which you have gone to a retirement or vanaprastha, semi-retirement stage, and they usually people go and retire themselves in forest. That means quiet place. That's all. It's not a forest. You can be in a very quiet place in a bustling highway too. But again, they cut down their work for earning the livelihood, and then do the community service. And the fourth one is last one. The ultimate words of wisdom are in Upanishads. That's the fourth part of it. Good. Any other question?
So then when you get to those four life stages, they correspond to the Vedas? So if you're a particular life stage...
I try to explain Aranyaka as a part of it, but not really that. For four life stages, basically, you're going through the stage of growing up. That means you are brahmacharya, that means you celibate. Your job is to study. Then you are a grihastha, an important part, being a married person, because that stage of your life, you're taking care of the youngsters and also taking care of the elders. So remain married, keep on earning, so because you have to take care of all of us, old people like us, and take care of the children. So that's the important job. Then semi-retired who do the social service, because they have earned enough and they don't need anything more. They know they cannot take anything with them. And then there are very few people who become sannyasi. That means renunciate everything and live in that particular spirit. But majority of us are pravrutti marga. That means we have a life of action. And there's nothing wrong with it. As we described the highlights of the Ishavasya Idam, all methods are good. All of them have to be done together. But unless and until you work as a team, recognizing the divinity in each one of us, we don't proceed. Yeah.
You said that everyone gains knowledge step by step, but he who takes the first step needs to have the full vision. How is that possible? That's the part I'm not clear.
Sadashiva Samarambha. That means it starts with the word of God. So starting with him, then it has gone through the traditional teaching. For example, if you open the 4th chapter here, Imam vivasyate de yogam pruktavanam avayam vivesvan manve praha madhurukshaptavebe. I explain, Lord Shri Krishna says, this eternal science of yoga to which Vivasvan shared it with Manu, and then Manu imparted to Ikshvaku. So what it means is, it has to start with Lord himself. But then the traditional teacher has continued through the time period. So that's how start with Lord Ishvara first. Okay? So that's why you have to go through that. And again, you'll be surprised how many people are there, but they will appear in front of you when you're ready for it. Any other question? Amar?
You said like you have to see divinity in everybody, but there are some people or someone, I won't use the word hatred, but I would say dislike. So how do you reduce that intention? How to eventually eliminate it? One way is to just be like in other part of the world, but like if you are meeting somebody, how do I reduce that waves or tsunamis of dislikeness to just ripples and eventually calm the water?
Well, the thing is, when you are youngsters, even you're a young kid, and you're playing in front of your mom and behaving improperly, I purposely doing it so that you don't remember that, but your mom remembers it well. And you are behaving so crazily, she didn't know how to change you or modify you or improve you. She didn't hate you, she didn't dump you, she still loved you. So what you have to recognize is that that stage of human existence is a stage of ignorance, and that ignorance has been treated as such regardless what the chronological age is. So you are able to see right through that person, saying that ultimately the core is good. You really don't know what that person has gone through in their lives to see their reaction that you see in the present. For example, in the Middle East, when these people behave in an appropriate way, you really don't know their life span in the early stages, what they saw in front of them, with subjective experiences which created their psyche. What I'm trying to say is, for us to prejudge them where they came from and react to their present actions is not correct. You have to accept them as they are, and then by setting an example for them, you'll be surprised they do change. Okay? So that's the way to deal with it. At the same time, you are a human being, I think. Am I right? What I'm trying to say is that if at a particular moment you feel stress, that's okay. Take a time out. Ask him to take a time out. What I mean is, get away from that situation. Don't let it overcome you with emotions. Think about it rationally the way we're discussing now. You'll come back to the situation, you'll be able to handle much better. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, Gita.
Not a question, but just a little bit reference to what you were asking. I always told my kids, because my parents told us that, is when you meet somebody like that, just remember, God doesn't make any junk, right? But in some people, you have to go through a bunch of layers. to get to the gold. The second was each person behaves according to their level of spirituality. Right? You look at Dalai Lama, right, versus some other people. So according to, and the third one was always, that's a test, how really deeply you have this understanding, right? That unless we meet a challenge, we do not know how great is our understanding of something. So this is really an opportunity to find out exactly where you stand and how much work you have to do on yourself.
As a matter of fact, I had the privilege to know your father. We used to call him Kaka.
Right?
And he would come to the temple since we were discussing Gita since 79 and would ask very intelligent questions, and he would get frustrated. I'd try to explain to him and come back the next Sunday and ask the same question. But we had a great time. It was wonderful.
Right, he was.
They can still do. I have to ask it in a way that you'll understand it.
Okay.
So on the nature of God, I guess, you're talking about a sheath and a sword. Could you say it again? Maybe it'll help you with my question.
No, I think it's a very deep question, an intelligent question. It is present in each one of us, but doesn't touch us. Okay. Let me teach you physiology of sleep. Okay. The doctor. Connected with Upanishads. You are awake. I think you are awake. That means you are able to see all the people sitting here and objects which are in this room. That's your awake stage. You're going to go to sleep, and how much you might deny, you're going to dream tonight. Everybody dreams. During that dream stage, you're not aware of your body. You're not aware of anything else, but you're in the dream world. Your subconscious is bringing out the images. And those images that you're seeing, that means my favorite example is you are in the jungle and somebody, dog, tiger is chasing you. You are running as fast as you can in Serengeti Plains, which I have done. Your blood pressure is up, your pulse rate is high, you're sweating like heck, trying to get in that jeep. Okay. But then you wake up and you realize you're not in Serengeti Plains, and your wife is asking what the heck is going on. That is subconscious plane. That's dream state. Then you have deep sleep stage. Also, if you see the various EEG that I can take and show you in deep sleep. During that time, you're not aware of the awake world. You're not aware of the subconscious. You are asleep, deep asleep. And when I ask you in the morning, did you have a good night's sleep? Or a great sleep, Dr. Sane? I say, wait a minute. If you had a real great deep sleep, how the heck do you know? You cannot answer that correctly. But yes, because when you are in deep sleep and your brain was getting recharged, there is a silent observer watching you in deep sleep. That silent observer, the scaffold around that sword, is the silent observer of God. That gives you the life force. So as soon as you wake up from that deep sleep, that sentience comes back to you. You come back to the awake world. So I try to explain to you as much. That is the summary of Mandukya Upanishad.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay? I hope you are pleasantly confused.
Well, I guess let me ask you another
That's a good
question.
state too.
Oh yeah.
So illusion or Maya, is this God?
Pardon me?
As well, is this a part of God?
People misunderstanding in that fashion. When they start seeing existence as an absolute real, that's Maya. What I'm trying to say is God is something that is permanent, does not change. Takes various shapes and forms, but inherently remains the same. So whichever is transient, you can label as Maya. So each one of us is a creation of Maya in that sense. Because you are not going to be staying, past is gone, future is a mystery. You live in the present moment. Your particular physical form will never be exactly the same. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So in that sense you can call it Maya. But again, this cannot be expressed in the form of words. It has to be experienced and understood. That's why the difficulty is to experience it. That's the only way you can do it. Then everything becomes crystal clear. Then you can see through people. Yes, any other question?
Dr. Sane, what is the basic difference between each Vedas? Basic, what are the...
Well, I mean, obviously,
It's all-
Samaveda is basically more lyrical form of mantras. Rigvedas emphasize more on the rituals part of it. Then Yajurveda is written by Shukla and Krishna, gives you different shapes and forms of the same entity, deeper form. And Atharvaveda is something which is more recent that way, so gives a lot more practical aspects of things. So again, it depends on what time period they were written. But again, as I mentioned to you, the ultimate part of each of the Vedas is Upanishads. And subject matter of every Upanishad is the same. Again, unless you know everything, you cannot know one thing. And you have to do one by one too. So,
Yeah.
any other question?
So just what you just said, so the Vedas were not written all at the same time?
No. Because people go through time periods, and the enlightened people are able to go in the deep meditation and see something or hear something, and they write it down. And typically, those seers or enlightened people never put their name. Their names are there. For example, Gayatri Mantra, Vishwamitra Rishi, Sabita Devata, Gayatri Chanda. But that is the typical mantra. But who wrote Vishwamitra Rishi? His disciples. Many times disciples will do it, but original Rishi will never write his own name.
And with some of these, what is the estimated age of the Vedas?
Good question. I was speaking at the Westminster Church 2 weeks ago. We went over all over the world, for that matter, talking on the reincarnation part of it. In the written form, 6,900 years. But before that,
That we know.
yeah, exactly. You're a good point. And before that, it was passed on by parents to their children by word of mouth. So how many years before GOK? GOK stands God only knows. And in the written form, as Kumar rightly pointed out, our present Ice Age ended 10,000 years ago. So 8,000 years after that. Then we do have the artifacts which are 10,000 years old. Before that, the Ice Age lasted for 60 to 70,000 years. So if we take 60,000 minimum and 10,000 top of it, that makes at least 70,000 years. So answer is, I don't know, God only knows. But it doesn't matter because the truths don't change. Okay. Yes. Any other question?
So as we were growing up in India, we were incorporating all the 4 Vedas in some form,
Yeah.
right? Like rituals,
Mhm.
yajnas, the prayers.
Yeah.
So practical aspect.
I think we were lucky because what our traditions have been and which are wonderful part about it is they are not part only on a particular day of the week that we do the prayer. They are integral part of our day-to-day life, our language, our culture, our art, everything is there. So it is, I don't know what to say, I think it's healthily infiltrated in every aspect of our human existence. That makes it really enjoyable. So you can dedicate yourself to only dance, but again that also is spirituality. Only music is still spirituality. So, Arun, you didn't have any questions?
Wonders part.
I had one question, but because I was thinking about once Professor Rambachan had talked about one verse where it says the first part was written words can only reveal quarter of the truth. But I am not able to find that one. Which one was that though? If you,
I'm not aware of that either. But again, the point is, only little portion of everything can be understood clearly. Even eating also is to be eaten moderate. For example, you eat 2 parts of solid, 1 part of water, and 1 part you keep open for air so that your digestion takes proper. So a certain amount has to be kept empty. So I don't know what context. Right?
so rest we had to experience it. If we want to know the truth about the God, so only the quarter we can get from what is written or what is heard, right? So remaining we'll have to experience it. So that only comes through either meditation or getting into that, living the life or feeling.
I think I understand where Professor Ramakrishnan was coming from. Obviously, I was not exactly remember the context. Is that in the teacher can give you only 1/4 of knowledge. Your colleagues on Friday night drinking a glass of beer will teach you 1/4 of your life. And 1/4 can come from personal life experiences. So, and again, you have to study on your own. That will give you another 1/4 knowledge. So there are several teachers on your way. But again, you have to ultimately come to experience on your own. So I don't know whether in that context you're talking about teachers. That's why you have to go to good places to educate themselves. So you remember Satsangat, you have to be in the company of people who are just as bright, intelligent, hardworking, and supporting each other. So, teachers good, colleagues good, you work hard.
So yeah, that brings to, I always think that, and I always question, so is there an ultimate guru or?
Sadashiva.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it came from. Okay, so. Any question?
I got always lots of questions.
I know, that's why we're together. That's a question.
That's a question. Well, sometimes, all of a sudden, the thought and experience together brings you some knowledge, understanding, which is, I'm sure it's probably some type of exposure that you have had. But you look at the child, you look at the baby, and all of a sudden, the baby starts laughing, smiling, something is happening. And you want to understand what's going on. And that probably happens to all of us.
I think,
and many a time you don't even know what made you think, or what made you so happy, or what made you so sad. That's the mystery.
well, I don't have the exact answer, but I'll try to give some suggestions. I mean, you obviously, each one of us is able to sense through sense organs, like touch, taste, smell, hear, see. But our mind has a capacity to go at immense speed, trust me, faster than the speed of light, 186,000 miles a second. So, even though we are sitting in this room, our mind can be in Paris. So your mind can go at a speed which is unimaginable. So that you are able to reach that particular state in your mind which does not exist in front of you at that particular given time. Or you certainly might remember an exciting, happy memory from that particular time, and that thought coming to your mind makes you smile. You remember something for a little child, you practiced for more than 50 years, pediatric endocrinology, so for that child, That child may have remembered her past life, may have remembered the smile on her mother's face in the previous life, and that brought her the spatial smiles and giggles. You never know. So for every situation is different, but again, the key is to remember, we learn through sense organs, we analyze, infer through mind and intellect, but the one which you cannot understand is the very subject which can only be experienced. For that you have to experience yourself. But again, go step by step. But you'll get it.
Because I recently was reading, and here are the twins being conceived by the mother, and one twin is not able to survive, but the other twin, who is still there, trying to look for the twin, and mother said, what's happening here? How does, and even though the baby is just born a few days old, but looking, doing something as if the baby is looking for something to touch.
Exactly. Because they were there together for a little while,
Yeah.
and that touch was missing. So that's, and as a matter of fact, I mean, this is not the time to talk about it, but the world that we live in is also seen and full of unseen. There are more unseen things around us than what we see them in the real world. So, I don't know if you've seen that movie where Fifth Man or something, where the person is dead, but still next to that person was able to see it. Sixth Sense or something. So that there are a lot more entities around us. Don't get scared because everything is divine. So some people misunderstand it. But again, as long as you realize that divinity always looking at us with a very positive attitude, there is no reason to be scared. As a matter of fact, you get scared because you're scared. And the reason for that is dvitiyat bhayam. That means if you consider duality, somebody is different than you, then you can be afraid. You're not afraid of your children, or children are not afraid of you because they recognize oneness in you. But by recognizing same identity in the other individuals, you can walk through. So you don't have to worry about it. So if you realize that regardless they are seen or unseen around you, you're still the same part of it. Well, if you come up with questions, let me know. I'll send all the notes to you and go from there on.